This is Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio.
Hi, and welcome to Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio. I'm excited that you're joining us for this conversation today. Very exciting conversation, an interesting one that I know we've all been interested in. Argentina. What's the story? What's happening there? We hear about Milei, but what's behind that? Who are the people involved? And what's the future look like for Argentina, and what can we all learn about that? At Atlas Network, we're always interested in human flourishing, individual initiative, and the worldwide freedom movement. We support partners and connect with people all over the world where we can share in these ideals and in the effort to make sure that liberty and freedom expand all across the globe. And so with that, I'm excited to be joined today by a very special partner and a good friend, Agustín Etchebarne from the Fundación Libertad y Progreso in Argentina. Thank you so much for joining us today, Agustín.
It's a real pleasure, Michael, to speak with you and to join the people of Atlas Network. They have always helped us so much.
You know, I'm excited about this discussion because the last conversation that you and I had, we got pretty deep while walking through Rio together just a couple months ago. And at that time, I thought, man, I wish more people were hearing this conversation and hearing Agustín's thoughts, his passion. And so I kind of want to start there. If someone heard us having a conversation, they walked up to you, as I'm sure this happens all the time in Buenos Aires or other locations, and they say, what is it that you do? How do you answer that question?
Well, what we are trying to do in Libertad y Progreso, I merged three think tanks and 15 years ago. And since that, we developed this organization that we have like two goals. One is the battle of ideas, to exchange ideas, to try to improve the debate in Argentina and to change ideas. We got so many false ideas for so long, for more like 80 years. And the second part is that we developed a think tank of 20 people that we are working in developing public policies. For instance, our last book, I have it right here, it's about human development. No? And we do it like we try to connect different things. For instance, a Nobel Prize that is right in here is James Heckman, is one of the chapters, people of our academic team, and then we don't need this to go to the bookshelf. The idea is to go to the ministries, to the secretaries of the provinces in different parts of Argentina and try to really implement this idea. Or they are going to implement it, but we are going to give them the possibilities of implementing this idea. So these are the two issues that we need to have. One is the battle of ideas, the other is public policies. In justice, in education, reforms on pension funds, reforms of many other things in Argentina. For instance, with this government, we made like more than 100 reforms that we sent them to them, and they already implemented like 35 of them.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. I mean, to think that here you took three different organizations, brought them together, and then had a pretty bold vision, and now what we like to refer to as the Overton window, right? Where you now have this opportunity of policymakers and society pushing forward. What are things like for the organization right now? Is there a normal day at the office, as they say, or what does a typical week look like for you all?
Well, it's very exciting because it's exactly like you said. For 20 years, we were just trying to shift the Overton window. Now we are in very good relationship with the government, and so every week we are working very hard. The team is fantastic. I have a great team, I have to say. We have a lot of help of our academic team because we have like more than 40 academics that are extraordinary. And then we have also a legal council that they are all pro bono, and we are working all together, but in each issue in a separate way. For instance, this week we are working with the CONICET. CONICET is one of the biggest center of investigation worldwide. Is like they have like 27,000 academics, but they are working very bad. And if you see that this is science and technology in the government, And we want to change completely this institution. And so we work with the academics, we work with the Economic Council, we work with the Legal Council, and then we issue a new decree to change completely all the system. And we are working with the government. They have a Ministry of Modernization, and work with Federico Sturzenegger. He's immense. What he's doing is a kind of Elon Musk, but he's actually doing the job. and he's making the deregulation. It's in an amazing way, and the reform of the state in an impressive way. From the beginning, you have to comparing what Elon Musk tried to do and what he is doing right now. This ministry, the very first month, they decreased 25% the federal expenditures, the very first month. So it was impressive. And they achieved the zero fiscal deficit from the very beginning, and they kept that way in the last 16 months. So they are really doing an impressive job. And we are trying to help. In our way, what we can do is just try to help and support the government, what they are doing.
Was this worked on for so many years? Were you part of an effort that then when Milei gets elected, now the opportunity, so the first month the plan is in place? Or was the election a surprise, and so you all had to quickly jump in and try to leverage relationships and really promote marketing? How did such a turnaround happen?
I think for many people it was a kind of a surprise, but not for us, because we were working for this for the last 20 years. And I don't know if you remember this diffusion of new ideas or new technologies, this kind of curve. And so for the first part of the curve, you are growing like very, very slowly, but for many years, like 15, for 20 years. And then at some point it went up with Milei. And of course, Milei made a huge impression on people because of his passion, because of his courage, and because of his moods, his manners, that are particularly not conventional, I would say. But it's impressive what he's doing, and he managed to get the hearts of young people, of very young people, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and it was really impressive. First with male, I have to say, not so much with female. But they were so passionate about changing Argentina after 80 years of decay. Something that we have to remember is that Argentina used to be a very, very rich country 100 years ago. It was one of the top 10 countries in the world in GDP per capita, and for 20 years or 30 years. And then we had like 80 years of decay, and the people were completely fed up of what was going on in Argentina, but they didn't know how to change it. Now they have a way, they are understanding that we have to change the ideas, completely change ideas, from statism, from corporativism, from a huge government was an interventionist government in everyday life, everywhere, towards a free market economy. And I think most of the people are understanding this in Argentina and are supporting the government, even if it's not very easy, because the president received a terrible a country in a terrible shape.
So I have to ask you about this, because you're talking about a country that is rich in a history of some economic turmoil, but yet also a recent past where the country was thriving, that people can recall, or they would hear from their parents or their parents' parents about this time. So there's still this understanding. So for our partners and your colleagues around the world that are working in environments like that, how did you identify this time a few years ago, or whenever it may have been, you just referred to, where this wasn't a surprise to you? What was it that you identified and said, hey, things are starting to change, I think this is going to be our opportunity? You saw that Overton window as it was starting to open. What advice would you have for your colleagues from your experience?
We did many talk shows and and I travel a lot around Argentina and talk to young people in universities, but not only in universities, also in schools and many other things. And I started to see a change within the same families. For instance, the older brother would be a Peronist. I would say a Kirchnerist, because now we have President Kirchner, and then his wife, Cristina Kirchner, was president again. So we had like 20 years of Kirchnerism in Argentina. And so the older brothers were like Kirchnerists. They understood the world as like an oppression of the capitalist system towards these people. But the youngers, they started to understand that that was not really the case. And the really oppressors were the people in the government. And they had to get rid of the government, get rid of taxes. We have 150 different taxes in Argentina oppressing the people. And they started to understand that that was the problem. The taxes, the regulations, it was impossible to get out of poverty unless you enter politics. Then you could go out of politics because you got a job in the state, and then you have somebody, a politician that is helping you thrive during your life. But they understood that they didn't want this, and for many years I started to see that the very young people started to understand these ideas, and the growth was evident in the social media. In social media was impressive. With very young people from 18-year-old, 20-year-olds, they have their own podcast. They interview myself, many other economists, but also economists that we were talking about, the Austrian School of Economics. Just completely surprised in Argentina. They were all Keynesians before. And now it's not like the Chicago School. It's the Austrian School of Economics. So it's more extreme, the ideas, because the difference between the Chicago School of Economics and the Austrian School of Economics, that we talk about values. We talk about the deep things about liberty, about freedom, but about the importance of the right of life, liberty, and freedom. And from the very, very grounds of these ideas.
You mentioned the word oppression a few times. You talked about a period and an experience of repression that was happening throughout Argentinian society. What did that look like? What does that mean? When you say that, what word are you conveying for others to understand what the experience was like?
Well, I think this is something that is happening in all Latin America. That is, there is a book that is an impressive book that is The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, written by Paulo Freire, a Brazilian Marxist, and he was very impressive the way that he influenced all the education system in Argentina, but I think in most of Latin America. And the idea is that the school has to teach the kids that they are oppressed by the capitalist system. And so his ambition of Paulo Freire is that the people gets upset, the kids gets upset, and they get anger. And this is terrible for their minds, it's terrible for their brains, it's terrible for everybody. But it's the idea that the capitalist system is oppressing him. And what President Milei did is he made a turn. Because you are oppressed, but not by the capitalist system. Look at the capitalist system, it's thriving everywhere. Every place that you get the capitalist system in place, you see that the economy thrives, you see that the poverty goes down, and he showed all the figures. So the problem is not the capitalist system. The problem are politicians. The problems are the people that are putting all these taxes in place, these 150 different taxes. The problem is that they are regulating every part of your life, that you are not free, that you cannot thrive, you cannot have your own business. If you want to have a business, you have so many regulations that you have to go to the underground economy, to the informal economy. So in Argentina, we have like 50% of the economy is underground. So they understood this. And when they understood this, they were already angered. But Milei expressed their anger, and put the important words, the important ideas. He managed to explain what was really going on in Argentina.
You talked about Milei when we were together last with a bunch of your colleagues that are leading organizations, partner organizations all throughout Latin America. And you were talking specifically about Milei and what made him different and why they should pay attention to him and what we can learn from him. Talk for a minute about Milei for others who maybe around the world that don't understand or don't know outside of the headline they read. Who is this man and what's the story behind someone that you've been working with for years?
Well, he's an impressive president. He's an impressive person. And he has a great courage. He's a very generous. Probably he's the most intelligent guy that I ever met. But he's also has a lot have some challenges for his, not only for his idea, but his temper. He's a really tempered man, so he can get angry very, very fast. But then he comes down very fast also. So it's very interesting, his way of thinking. But he's in the good side because I think he's a kind person. He's a kind person, he's generous when you know him for a long time. And I know that he fights with many people, but he fights for the real reasons, for the good reasons, I would say. He's fighting for Argentina, he's fighting for declining poverty, he's fighting for freedom. And he understands that he has a mission. He really thinks that he has a mission. He's very passionate about the ideas of Jesus, and so he feels that he has really a mission in his life, and his mission is to change Argentina, and that's why he's so passionate about. And he could get anger very, very easy if he talks about politicians or if he talks about Keynes, because he understood the ideas of Keynes destroyed Argentina, and they destroyed the constitution, because if you try to implement Keynes, you have to destroy the constitution. Even in the States, it happened the same. With the New Deal or this kind of, you have to destroy the institution because you cannot respect property, no? And so he understands this in a very profound way, because he was a neoclassical economist until he started to see the ideas of course, Friedman and so much, but he was still explaining these neo-Keynesians or the mixture between the Chicago School and Keynes and so on, until he understood the School of Austria, the Austrian School of Economics. And that was for him in a way to really, he understood how the economy is really working and how it's really hurting people. And that was a complete change of game for him.
You've mentioned Austrian economics versus Keynesian economics. You've mentioned classical liberal ideals and how that is changing Argentina right now. And I'll mention for folks listening and watching that at atlasnetwork.org, you can sign up. For $25, you can become a member of Atlas Network and support organizations like Fundación, Libertad y Progreso, and others. And you will get Freedom's Champion magazine, where we actually talk about the impact of Milton Friedman, and we talk about the School of Austrian Economics in this latest issue. So you can get that by going to atlasnetwork.org, where you will also be able to see and learn more about how to connect with Agustín and his colleagues in Argentina. And that's where I want to go with this next thought is, we've talked a lot about the history, what's happening now. Project forward for me. If anyone is paying attention to Argentina for the first time in a while, they're reading, they've got some interest, they're thinking about maybe travel or economic relationship, trade, anything else. What does the future of Argentina look like over the next decade? What do you see? What trends are in place? What's giving you hope right now?
Well, we are in the middle of the river changing things. We're making huge reforms in Argentina. But it's already in just 16 months, it's already showing very, very good signs. I was telling you, what the first thing he did was the government, what they did was to decrease 25% of government expenditures. But they had the courage, but also the conviction that the economy would go like in a V-shaped recovery. The first quarter was terrible, but then it really worked as a V-shaped recovery. And if you compare the first quarter last year, poverty was 57% in Argentina. Now it's 35% in only 16 months. So it's impressive the way that because inflation is going down. It went down from 211% in 2023 to we are expecting this year to be 29%. So from 211% to 29%, and we expect next year to go to single digits, maybe 8 or 9%. Or even if it's 10%, it's still going to be a huge decline in inflation. And so the salaries doubled in dollar terms, but the economy is still very expensive in dollars right now. So there is a kind, now we have a strong peso, a strong currency. After 50 years of very high inflation, now the peso is a strong currency, just in 16 months. Why? Because they made a huge change in the balance sheet of the central bank. The central bank was completely bankrupt, and now is in good shape in only 16 months. And so they decreased not only the deficit of the treasury, but also the deficit of the central bank. And so the causes of inflation, which is printing money, they are not doing anymore. So they are not printing money to pay for the expenditures of the government or the treasury. And that's why inflation is going down. He understood this because he understood the ideas of the Austrian School of Economics. That's why his conviction was very high that the economy was going to rebound very fast, and is rebounding. Of course, we have a lot of challenges ahead. 35% of poverty is still huge. It's going to be very difficult now to continue to do. The first decrease in poverty is easy because you are getting inflation down, but then you have maybe 20-25% of the people that they are in a strong poverty with lots of problems, education, of food, of many things. So this is going to be a huge challenge ahead. And also because we still are in the middle of the road. No, we made a lot of reforms, but Argentina is still at the middle of the table in the Freedom Index. And so the idea of the president is that he wants Argentina to be the most free country in the world. But it will take probably not only the whole this administration, but a second administration. You know, in Argentina we have 4 years for the president, and then another 4 years. So in 8 years, Argentina could make. I think he has a good chance to be re-elected, and if he really is re-elected, then Argentina is going to be maybe one of the free countries in the world.
What is conversation in Argentinian society like right now on this? I'm thinking that where I'm at in the United States and in other parts of the world, when such rapid change happens, even though our partner organizations will be talking about it, when a leader comes in and when culture starts shifting in the direction and understanding classical liberal ideas and starts implementing them, there's benefit, but there's also this kind of turmoil that comes culturally where the media and institutions and elites will push back as they start to lose control. But society, around the dinner table, as we say from time to time, everybody starts to understand and they pick up this momentum and enthusiasm. What's happening in Argentina right now?
Well, the conversation is very difficult because you have all the corporations are against this because they are losing power. So even the media, they are all against what is happening. Not all of them, but most of them. And then the economy, even if the numbers and the macro numbers are extraordinarily good, but in the micro numbers, in the family table, they are still experiencing a very tough economy because the government took out the subsidies on electricity, on transport, on gas, and many things. And so they have to pay now the check that they were not paying before. And so this is difficult. Even if salaries are going up, they are not feeling in their pockets when they go to the supermarket because they are paying more for services. And so, and then you have different sectors in Argentina. There are certain parts of the countries that are growing very fast and with good salaries. For instance, the Patagonia, and the 7 provinces in the Cordillera de los Andes, which are the mountains that we share with Chile. They are really thriving. It's impressive. Oil and gas and mining is growing very fast. Just to give you a picture of what's happening. With the same mountains, Chile make exports of $55 billion per year no, from the same minerals. And in Argentina, we only exported 4 billion, no, and now they are investing we are going to be in a few years, or not in a few years, but in a decade, we are going to be as strong in copper as Chile, for instance. So the investings there are immense. Oil and gas, with shale oil and shale gas with Vaca Muerta in the south of the country, is really thriving. We have already signed, the President Milei this week signed an agreement with Italy to export to Europe of about 100 billions of gas for the next decades and so on. So we are really, this part of the countries are thriving, but we still have sectors that are laggards, like construction, like the industry, because now the industry is starting to compete after 80 years of protectionism. So it's very difficult for them. They have to adapt. Some of them are going to invest, some of them are going to adapt, and some of them are going to disappear. And so and you need to get more employment in new sectors, like the economy of knowledge, for instance. This is something that is going to thrive in Argentina also. So it's a mixed thing. There are people that are doing well. There are people that are suffering a lot still. But young people, even if they are struggling a lot, they are supporting the president. And that's my most optimist, or the principal cause of optimism.
Let me ask you about working with young people and getting young people involved. We'll talk in a little bit. You mentioned before being an economist, and I know that you've taught economics, and I want to get into that in a minute. But from right now, with respect to the think tank, to the organization, how do you all engage the young people that you see this momentum, you're getting enthusiasm about it? What are the tactics? What are the programs? How do you communicate with them? That could help some of our partners.
Well, we started like 15 years ago issuing a lot of videos. Some of them got like 8 million views, and we had some stars. Sometimes we invited stars from abroad. Like, for instance, Gloria Alvarez, at one point, she came to Argentina, and I did like 6 videos with her. And we developed the ideas, and she was a great performer, and that was impressive. But then we have a lot of young people in Argentina that are using our videos. Sometimes when I go to on TV, we go every day, 16 times per day, either to TV shows, radio, and the written press. And these kids take some part of the videos, and they multiplied by thousands, hundreds of thousands, and so we have a very good relationship with them, and they are like 10 people that are, for instance, in one birthday of one of these kids. But no, it's not like it. He's a young, now he's not a kid anymore, because he started like 15 years ago. Now he's a grown up, and he's like 28 years old. We were like 6, I would say, influencers, no, in his birthday on Zoom, and there were 400,000 people watching, and we spent there like 3 hours drinking and chatting and so on, and they were still 400,000 people on the other side and of course talking in YouTube, you know, and so on, and so it's so interesting. This is a completely different world. So you have to engage with them.
I've mentioned partners throughout Atlas Network, and so I want to ask you, as you brought 3 organizations together, and now as you all are realizing a pivotal opportunity, what has the partnership with Atlas Network meant for you as a leader and for your organization, your colleagues?
Well, I think it was very, very important for me and from the organization. I went to Atlas to make the TT MBA before the merger, and my subject was the merger of Argentine think tanks. And at that time, Alex Chafuen, that he's an Argentine, he told me, no, it's impossible to merge anything in Argentina. But I'm a bit stubborn, you know, and I go back 1 week later, and I say, Alex, this is my idea, I want to do this, we need to merge think tanks. They are all so small that they are completely ineffective. And I went there, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about strategic planning. I learned about fundraising, which is crucial. And we have like $600,000 in Argentina for Libertad Progreso. And I learned how to do campaign. The last day of the TTMBA, we made a campaign in one day, no? I remember we won the challenge because we made a video about freedom for bananas. And so we were asking all the girls, you remember in TTMBA, we got like, 120 people from all over the world, from 50 different countries. It was impressive. And so we went to every woman there and we asked them, does size matter? And the answers were completely hilarious. But then we said, it does matter for Europeans, because to enter to the European market, you have to have a certain size of bananas, which is crazy. All these barriers that they have in Europe. No? And this explains a little bit about what Trump is doing right now. All those barriers that are not the tariffs, that are barriers that you cannot enter there. And it was impressive. In only one day, we got a lot of views in YouTube. So in one day, you can make a campaign. You can start your own campaign. And very cheap, with no dollars at all, with just an iPhone.
You've participated with Atlas Network in CEO summits where your peer executives from other organizations throughout Latin America will get together and talk about best practices. Why do you do that? Why is that worth your time, and what value do you get out of spending that time together?
I think it's very, very helpful because to run a think tank, you have so many problems to fix, and to share this type of problems and to listen to others that have to resolve these problems, or simply to see that this is something that we are working and maybe we are not doing it so fine, but we can explain what's happening and then have some ideas. It's really helpful. And it's also it's always very motivating when you see that we are not alone. We are like more than 500 think tanks worldwide that we are really working towards getting more liberty worldwide. And this is so important because freedom and liberty is the way to get peace in the world. And so I think free markets are so important, and are so important in the relationship not only within your own country but with the other countries, that when you understand how the world works. For instance, if we get together at that network from people from 100 different countries, we are friends immediately because we share the same ideas and the same values, and that's so important. And to me, each time that I go to the meetings, it's like I receive a shock of new energy. And this is I think is the most important thing. Then you go back to your country and you keep struggling and trying to fix things.
My observation when I left the CEO summit that we were both at earlier this year with all the peers throughout Latin America, it was this. You mentioned it a second ago, right? I referred to it as everybody was friends day one. I don't know if everybody knew each other for 20, 30 years or they just met, but there was this commonality and this friendship. But the other thing was passion. There was passion in the room that was palpable. There was enthusiasm, even those that were facing some pretty tough scenarios. I think about our colleagues in Venezuela in particular. But yet there was passion in the room and excitement about the future. Is that something that you're seeing and you're hearing from your peers within your organization? Is that the staff? Are you all pretty momentous right now?
Yeah, we are. We had this idea many years ago that we use lunch to have lunch and to talk without talking about the work, and that was very interesting. because then really we feel like almost a big family, like a big family. We are part of a big family. Because when you share, the thing is that when we try to hire somebody, we need to hire somebody that we share the same values. This is the most important, because even if you have not the same ideas in certain issues, then you have to discuss, you can learn, you can debate, and you can have new ideas and so on. And but you have to have a common ground in values. That's the most important thing to me. When you do, then everything is easy. For instance, when we merged with Manuel Solanet and Aldo Abram, we didn't sign anything. We didn't need to sign anything. And we worked 15 years without any disagreement. Because when we don't agree in certain issues, I'm not sure if I'm right. Maybe he's right, or the other one. And so sometimes we go one way, we will go other way, but we share the same values. And that's the most important thing in my opinion. And it was very easy to merge. With others, I tried to merge with another 10 think tanks, and I could not. It was not possible. We didn't share one of the values that we share is humility. We don't think that we have the last word. There are not last words. No? And we are always trying to rethink things. And that's a way that say, I'm not sure about everything. I have like a lamp. The lamp is liberty. The lamp is freedom. So, and I try to search for different things. But then we can discuss about everything. Sometimes some people are in favor of abortion and others are against abortion. And we have to discuss this and how can to get common ground. In the liberty movements, we have many disagreements. About drugs, for instance, I'm in favor of the legalization of all drugs. But this is a very huge issue. And some people in Libertad Progreso, they don't share this because they're still very scared about this particular issue. And so we have to continue the debates and the discussions and so on.
And folks, if you want to engage in this conversation, I invite you to go to atlasnetwork.org. You'll learn about all of the partner organizations, but also about how you can get involved. And you'll learn even more about the Fundación Libertad y Progreso. And I want to encourage you, you can actually go direct to their website, libertadyprogreso.org, where you'll be able to see right at the front page the book that Agustín had before. Agustín, hold it up there again, your latest publication that you all put out. You can see and get a copy of that book as well and read through that at libertadyprogreso.org. But Agustín, I want to shift a little bit and talk specifically about you. We've talked quite a bit about Argentina, about your work in bringing these organizations together. But one question stands out for me. Why? Why, as someone that is very accomplished, you've been involved in investment, you've been involved in the financial industry, you're an economist. Why are you doing what you're doing right now?
It was in 2001. I was really doing very well. I managed some funds, and I had my own company, and I was thriving. But the problem is that my income was going like this. The income of Argentina was going like this. So I wrote an article in the newspaper, in the biggest newspaper in Argentina. It was called "The X of Poverty." My feeling was I didn't write what I'm saying right now, but what I wrote is that poverty was declining everywhere in the world, except with few exceptions. Argentina was one of these exceptions. Now Venezuela is another exception, or Cuba. But the rest of the countries, the poverty is declining fast and has been declining in the last 200 years very fast. So I wrote this article, The X of Poverty, because Argentina used to be a very rich country, and it really hurts to see poverty going up. Because if you have you are living in a poor country in Africa, but poverty is declining, actually you are improving your country every year. Argentina was not improving, was going back. For 80 years we were going in the opposite direction, and that was really hurtful. When I love to travel. I love to travel around Argentina. I travel around Latin America and fortunately to different parts of the world. And if you go to Europe And you could see that 50 years ago or 60 years ago, Europe was very poor. They were out of the war. In the 1950s and 60s, it was terribly poor. And now they have an incredible society. And well, we did exactly the opposite. We went from being an exciting society, but it was thriving and was developing towards a country that was already with, at that time in 2001, we got 54% of poverty because it was another crisis in Argentina.
So let me ask you, as an economist and someone who has taught economics and continues to teach economics, especially to young people, when you talk with students about the future, what is the first thing you're hearing from them that you have to help push back against, or you have to help them understand to maybe clear misconceptions that they have about economics and the way the world works?
Well, in the last 10 years, I've been teaching economics to non-economists. And so the problem is that they don't understand very much about economics. The first issue was that they were disappointed about Argentina. They were disappointed about what was going on, because we have experienced so many crises in Argentina. The first topic was, why should I stay in Argentina or go abroad? That to me is the most important thing. Many people went abroad of Argentina. Many young people, many bright young people went to many different countries, from the States, but also to Spain, to other countries, some of them to Australia, in the other part of the world, no? And they are experiencing and their friends that went there, they have good jobs, and they travel. They have a lot of this work and travel. They love to work and travel, no, and to see other. So that I would say it's the first issue. And my answer to that was, you have the opportunity to change this country. What else is so important? And so I made them a challenge. We have to change Argentina, and we can do it. And so, because that's what I was trying to do, what we are trying to do, and to engage them with this idea that you have to be part of this. You have to be part of the change. You have to change yourself to be part of the change.
When you talk about change and you talk about being part of that and leading that, and I'm asking specifically for you, you've been part of some pretty bold public positions. And that there's a cost to that, right? There's a sacrifice that you make when you step out and you're bold and you make bold statements or you lead on a particular issue. But there's also a positive experience and something that we're given in that. Can you talk about that in being a bold public figure? What does it cost you, but what have you gained out of that?
Well, it's true that you have costs. For instance, in Twitter it's terrible. When you put a strong issue on Twitter, you can receive hundreds of people that are hating you, really hating you and throwing and most of them, they are not even using their own name. And so when you are not using your own name, you can write whatever. But on the other hand, you have a lot of supporters. For instance, I have like 220,000 followers on Twitter. And so you have many people that are hating you, and you have many people that are almost in love. I mean, they are supporting you. But then the most important thing is family. If you have your own family and they support you, and then you have the team in Libertad Progreso. Now that I'm engaging this, I was telling you this CONICET, this Center of Technology in Argentina that I want to change. They went from 7,000 people to 27,000, and we want to decrease them to be more efficient, because they are completely inefficient. Of course, they are 27,000 people that they know how to write, and you can receive a lot of letters, a lot of things that they are putting in Twitter and in the media and so on against you. But I'm very tranquil in the sense that I feel that we are doing the good fight, And we are doing it just telling our ideas. We aren't trying to impose the ideas, but just engaging in the debate. And if you don't agree, you have to tell why. Tell me your argument. Don't give me your anger. Give me your argument. That's the idea that I try to engage with people. And I've been debating with Kirchnerists, with Marxists, in the universities, in many places, with no problem at all.
That is a great. Don't give me your anger. Give me your argument. I think that is a good phrase for civil society, but also just for a civil discourse. More importantly, that all of us around the globe could learn right now. You know, as we're having this conversation, I'm curious about this question because you talked a moment ago about how you had a lot of success in private industry and your income was growing, but you were looking at the country around you, your countrymen, and you were saying, wait a minute, this isn't the shared experience. There's a better way. I want to help change Argentina. And you got together with colleagues. The rest is history, as they say. But I wonder this, if you're talking with not just your children, but the next generation, your grandchildren's, that generation, you're talking with them and you get a question about why did you choose this path? Why didn't you stay on a different path? Why is this? How would you answer them? How would you tell them, and what would you encourage them on why they should follow on a similar path?
Well, I think I would share with them a very personal thing. In 2001, the country was in crisis, but also my brother died. And that was a huge impact on me. And I understood that we live a very short life. It's very short. And so we have to use our time in the best way possible, in the best possible way. And of course, when you are living in a country, you have to understand what you are doing. Why I was learning economics, why I was teaching economics. I wanted to change things from the very beginning. And then, of course, life happens, and then you start to get into the business, and you start to have a lot of money, and you can travel, and you can do many things. But at a certain point, you go to figure out what is the real purpose of life. That's the way. And probably the thing is that there is not a purpose. You have to invent your own purpose. But in my view, you have to live something a little better. Even if you go to a public bathroom, I always have this idea that after entering this public bathroom, the public bathroom should be a little bit cleaner than when you get into it. So if everybody do this, then it will be a completely different world. No? And so the idea is to try to be a little better for the people that are around you, your family, your company, your country, the human race.
Has there ever been a period of time, maybe after 2001 until now, where you've felt like maybe I've accomplished all I can, or maybe I've left my impact here, or maybe this isn't the right path for me? I'm asking this question because many of your peers that are leading organizations or many donors that are involved in supporting this effort around the world at times may question or get a sense or a feeling of, am I having impact? Do I matter? And so surely you've gone through that. Have you experienced that, and how have you persevered through that moment?
Yeah, for sure. And not once, but many times. Because it has been, for many times you say, well, okay, I did enough. Now I pass the torch to another one. And this is something that it happens. But then I enjoy many things also. And so, and also it's very good to have a team. Candelaria Elizaide, for instance, is one of a member of my team. And when she sees that I'm like a bit down or whatever, she enters in and try to say what's going on. And the team is part of it. And my partners, Manuel Solanet and Aldo Abram. And so to have partners is very important. You are not alone. No, you are struggling. You are not alone, and of course, you have to enjoy big victories, of course, but small victories sometimes. And a small victory is when you issue a video that you get 500,000 views. That's a victory because you are engaging a conversation with 500,000 people. And sometimes with 8 million people, but not all the time with 8 million people. Sometimes with, so this I think is very interesting. And, but I don't know, then you have to do other things. In my personal thing, one of the things that I try to do is to get some meditation, no, mindfulness. That I'm trying to use mindfulness. And this calms you down and this gives you more energy. And of course, I also play 3 times per week tennis. I'm a tennis player. And I started to play 3 times a week in the last 3-4 years. And that was a game changer.
You're I don't know if you're inspiring me or you're convicting me right now, because many people know I used to play basketball at least 4 or 5 mornings a week. I would start my day on the court and played most of my life. And in the last year and a half, I've slipped a little bit, haven't gotten out there as much as I should. But the fact that you're out there consistently playing tennis and that's such an important part of your weekly routine and kind of the fabric of who you are right now, that's convicting me that I need to get back out there again.
No, for sure, because not only because you feel better, but also because you engage with your friends. And this is the most important things in life. Friends and health is one of the most important things, and you have it at the same moment. So it's extraordinary.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question as we have a little bit of time here before we wrap up. You mentioned before, at the time that you brought the organizations together, a couple other inflection points, the resources that were available. So surely we have donors to Atlas Network, donors to your organization that are listening or watching this right now. What should they understand about the impact of their resources? What do you want them to know about how much they matter?
Well, it's very important because we cannot do what we are doing without money. For instance, this year in Argentina, we doubled the salaries in dollar terms because also prices are doubling. But for a company, that's very easy because they double also their price, their price of their exports or whatever. But from the size of an organization like an NGO, you need to have more donors. So this is more important. But the most important thing is what you get with your dollars. And I think it's very important that Argentina is a place where we are struggling a fight that is a world fight of ideas. And we are an experiment for the world because we have been declining for 80 years with the wrong ideas. If this experiment goes in the right direction, it's going to be an example for every country in the world, like Chile was at some point, or for instance, South Korea. Well, Argentina now is the place that is changing. It's the only place that is changing so fast in the world. So we need that Argentina has a good ending with this experience. And I think this is the most important thing right now, worldwide, I believe, because we are really making a huge change. And of course, we have a lot of challenges ahead.
Okay, Agustín, I'm going to rapid fire a couple questions at you here as we wrap up, but just about you in particular. So when you're not playing tennis, when you're not leading the organization or making speeches and teaching economics, what's a hobby? Where can someone find you, maybe on the weekend or the evenings? What do you like to do?
Well, I like to read. I think reading is one of the most interesting things in the world. Now I have I'm a great fan of AI. So I'm reading about AI. I'm using AI all the time. And I believe in the next 3 years I'm going to be making a change in the way that I'm going to engage in the battle of ideas. I'm going to be into the cinema. That's going to be my next issue, because I want to be a script writer, and I want to make new scripts, because I want the people to thrive on of expanding strategic thinking and expanding critical thinking. That's the most important thing, because I see that many people are having some ideas from others without really thinking about it. So I'm thinking about many things. I love cinema, I love reading, and I'm trying to play piano, which is very hard, but I'm trying to do it.
Do you, besides piano, are there any other instruments that you play?
Yeah, I have my guitar here. I have my guitar. I try to play, but actually right now I'm trying with a piano because I have a teacher, and I'm improving a little bit.
Sure. Let me go back real quick, because you and I had an interesting conversation about this previously, and I hope we get to soon in the future. But let's talk about this interest in cinema. And you mentioned AI, and then quickly talked about screenwriting and cinema. Connect those dots for the audience. What's working through your mind, and what do you see the output? What can we expect to come from this in a year or two?
Well, in 3 years, I think we will be able to make a whole movie for $1,000. So if you have the right script and you know how to teach your AI to film as the way you do, for instance, I want to make a film about a scene of Buenos Aires of in 1700s in the harbor of Buenos Aires, but I want to do it as Orson Welles, with film noir in black and white and so on, and you already can experience this with ChatGPT. No, you can do it with ChatGPT right now. It's not working very good yet, but it's going to be very good in 2 or 3 years. So my idea is, if you have this, the most important thing is going to be the scriptwriter. So that's what I'm interested in being. I will try to do script writes. No, for instance, I want to change the way that we learned history in Argentina, and I want to teach history through fiction. No, it's a fictional history, but I mean with real things, but in fiction. Like I don't know how you say it exactly in English.
Yeah, the historical fiction, where the story may be fictitious, but the history of Argentina that feeds in the scene and the lives of everybody, that is based on the true history of Argentina. Yeah, I'm excited and interested, and I think it's pretty fascinating too that so many people think AI and think the future of technology, they push that down and, oh, that's the next generation, those are the young kids, they'll figure that out. But here's such an accomplished leader that is realizing an important time in his country and leading a group through all of that change, is also fascinated by this and sees this as a way of the future. That's pretty important for the audience to understand.
Yeah, and it's very important also for kids, because as the world is changing so fast, that employment is going to change so fast that you have to develop your own business, and your own business could be on cinema, it could be on arts, liberal arts, on whatever. But you have to realize that the world is going to be completely different, but you are going to use AI.
All right, Agustín, we knew this was going to happen. You and I said off air before we started the recording here today that this conversation may last 4 or 5 hours. And thank heavens we don't have any food or drink around the table, because then we would just be here and keep the camera rolling. But I want to ask you 2 last questions. The first one is, if there's a donor watching right now that is thinking of giving to Atlas Network to support your organization and your peers all across the worldwide freedom movement, what would your pitch to them be? What would you suggest to them on why they should give?
Well, Atlas Network has been a very important thing for Libertad Progreso in Argentina, and I think for many of our partners around the world. We learned a lot about strategic planning, about fundraising, about how to manage our think tank, about how to manage the problems, about how to manage the human resources. So we learned so many things. We start every Monday doing agenda surfing, one technique that I learned at Atlas Network. And the key people in my team, goes to Atlas Network meetings, and we learn a lot, and we implement locally the things that we learned. And it has been really very helpful. And I think if you help Atlas Network, you are helping Argentina because you are helping Libertad Progreso, that we are having an impact in Argentina, but you're also helping the world in a sense, because if Argentina managed to make this miracle of changing after 80 years of decay, is going to be a great example for the world. So I think if you help Atlas Network, you are really helping the freedom movement around the world.
Well, thank you for that, Agustín, and thank you for your time today, sharing the story of Argentina and the hope and enthusiasm for the future. And congratulations for your organization and all the work that you all are doing.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's been a great pleasure always talking with you.
Folks, thank you so much for joining the program today. As Agustín mentioned, I also encourage you to go to atlasnetwork.org, where you can learn more about Fundación Libertad y Progreso, or you can go direct to their website, libertadyprogreso.org. But if you go to Atlas Network at $25, you can get Freedom's Champion magazine that we talked about on this show, or you could become a member of the Atlas Club. My wife and I are proud members of the Atlas Club, where we have some City Club events, and Agustín will be joining Atlas Network at Philadelphia and New York and a couple other cities throughout July of 2025. And so encourage you to join the Atlas Club and be part of those events and others throughout the year. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, this is Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio.